I'm now reading from Edward F. Edinger's The Aeon Lectures, Exploring the Self in C.G. Jung's Aion. Chapter 2, Jung's Foreword to Aion. In the Foreword to Aion, Jung tells us that the theme of this book is the change of the psychic situation in the Christian aeon, which coincides with the astrological conception of the Platonic month of the fishes, in other words, Pisces. The notion of the Platonic month is based on the astronomical fact of the precession of the equinoxes. Figure 2 pictures the way the Earth, the Sun, and the circle of the zodiac line up at various times. This is figure 2. Please stop the video to review the figure. The caption of the figure is, "The astronomical precession of the equinoxes, with the Sun at the center, the orbiting Earth, and, in the outer circle, the surrounding background of the fixed stars, seen from Earth as the constellations." The dotted lines indicate how the Sun is seen from Earth in relationship to the constellations at various times of the year. The solid lines show how the apparent position of the Sun at the spring equinox has shifted over the millennia until it now appears to be leaving Pisces and entering Aquarius. Let me go back and repeat part of Dr. Edinger's text. The notion of the Platonic month is based on the astronomical fact of the precession of the equinoxes. Figure 2, page 20, pictures the way the Earth, the Sun, and the circle of the zodiac line up at various times. The largest circle represents the circle of the zodiac in the heavens. One can think of it as representing the background of the fixed stars. At the center of the figure is the Sun, with the planet Earth orbiting around it once a year. It can be seen that at any given time of the year, the Sun, as viewed from Earth, will have in its background one of the zodiacal signs. A long time ago, at the date of the spring equinox, the Sun appeared to be in the sign of Aries, the ram. Due to the precession of the equinoxes, there is a very tiny loosening or play of the celestial mechanism. It is not absolutely tight, so over a long period of time, the Sun shifts its position relative to the background of the zodiacal signs. At the spring equinox, in about 1 AD, at the beginning of the Christian aeon, it appeared to have left the sign of Aries and started into the sign of Pisces. Now, 2,000 years later, it is about to leave the sign of Pisces and enter that of Aquarius. Similarly, if you go back to 2000 BC, you find that the Sun was just leaving the sign of the bull, Taurus. This movement of the Sun through each zodiacal sign is called the Platonic month, and each takes approximately 2,000 years. For a complete circuit to take place to make a Platonic year, 26,000 Earth years are required. It is that astronomical fact to which the astrologers have attached certain meaning, and to which Jung attaches a synchronous meaning. The Christian aeon, which corresponds synchronistically to the 2,000-year period in which the Sun occupies Pisces, is the Platonic month that is now coming to an end. That is what Jung refers to when he speaks in his foreword of the change of psychic situation in the Christian aeon, which coincides with the astrological conception of the Platonic month of the fishes. There are two other important statements in the foreword which can use some elaboration. In one, Jung says, quote, "I write as a physician with a physician's sense of responsibility and not as a proselyte." That word proselyte is Beckener in the German text, and perhaps could be better translated as one confessing a faith. So Jung announces that he writes as a physician and not one confessing a faith. I take this to mean that he is speaking out of an objective, empirical point of view corresponding to the medical attitude, and also that he feels constrained by the medical ethics, which dictate that one be primarily concerned for the health and well-being of the patient, that one do no harm. Jung is trying to be helpful in attempting to heal what he calls, quote, the utopian mass psychoses of our time, unquote. This remark about the physician's sense of responsibility raises an important issue which Jung was keenly aware of, the problem of writing for a mixed audience. Anybody who wishes to can pick up Jung's books, which means that what Jung has to say is being directed simultaneously to people of many different levels of psychological development. Jung was particularly aware of this issue because what he had to talk about could be a healing panacea, saving knowledge for some people, while it could be absolute poison for others, depending on the reader's ability to understand what was presented. This is a grave issue, and it goes a long way to explain Jung's particular mode of expression in his later work. In Answer to Job, for instance, he speaks largely at a mythological level. Those who can make the translation get the message. Those who can't won't be harmed. This is how I understand Jung's statement, quote, I write as a physician with a physician's sense of responsibility, unquote. The other comment that needs elaboration is, quote, nor do I write as a scholar, otherwise I would wisely barricade myself behind the safe walls of my specialism and not, on account of my inadequate knowledge of history, expose myself to critical attack. This is an allusion to the fact that Jungian analysts, just by the nature of their task of working with the psyche, are necessarily poachers on the posted domains of other disciplines. They are constantly venturing into scholarly realms of history and anthropology and mythology and all the arts, pursuing their prey, whose tracks are to be found in these various places. What they are tracking, of course, is the objective psyche, whose trail can be seen in all these old documents, so they have to go after it there. This makes them vulnerable to criticism from scholars who barricade themselves behind the safe walls of a specialty. Now, I'd just like to add my own comment. Sometimes it's difficult to get Jungian analysts to talk about Jungian analysis. Indeed, I go to and watch videos of Jungian analysts speaking at various lectures. And very often they'll be happy to speak about a metaphorical story, like the story of Persephone and Demeter, but they really fail to bring it into modern life. They really fail to tell the general public what it means. In my experience, I've found Dr. Jung's work very useful and helpful to me whenever my psyche is in a problem, and I simply pick up one of Dr. Jung's books and begin to read, and very soon I'm comforted. I don't know why, but my purpose in doing these readings is to help others have the experience I have had. This does not mean that you have a mental health problem. I think there are plenty of issues that come up in modern life that can be benefited by the wisdom of Dr. Jung's work. Indeed, when I picked up the Red Book for the first time, I decided to start to tweet it out. And I found that I could put out an average paragraph in about 5 tweets. But in order for them to be readable in the correct order, the tweets had to be entered in reverse order, so that the last sentence would be the bottom sentence and the first sentence would be the top sentence. When I started to do that, what I found is that Dr. Jung's wisdom works just as well if you read the sentences in reverse order, at least in the Red Book. This could be explained by Dr. Edinger's discussion in the previous book about cluster thinking. Since each paragraph is a cluster, it makes no difference whatever in what order you enter the paragraph. In the next video, I will read Chapter 1 of Aion, which covers everyone's favorite subject, the ego. Join me then.